to another episode of Dual Senses, a PlayStation podcast where we give you our 2 cents on all things PlayStation. My name is Alex Wolf, and I'm joined here by the one, the only, the something one, Stephen Morrow.
The something one?
I had nothing clever to come up with in that little brief moment. You can catch us live each and every Friday night at 9:30 Eastern time-ish, roughly around there, if we start on time, which we did tonight. But if you're listening post-recording, then be sure to rate, review, and follow us wherever you're listening. You can find the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. And if you're a fan of the show, please consider helping to support the show by heading over to www.mtfproductions.com/donate, where you can send in as little as $1 and we can give you the best show we possibly can. That's with an asterisk because you could send us all the money. We'd find a way to fuck this up. But
Hello. How are you doing?
I'm hanging in there. I got my brick.
Yeah, you got your brick mug.
Mm-hmm.
I got my Arizona.
I know that Arizona shit, Steven. Get out of here.
I like Arizona tea.
Yeah, that's true. Arizona sweet tea is disgusting how drinkable it is. Like,
yeah,
it is easier to drink than water. It is terrifying.
Yeah, I felt dehydrated on my way home, and I was like, I have water at home. Got Arizona tea. I felt like this would quench my thirst more than water.
But that's the thing. I don't ever feel like it quenches my thirst. But I can drink 2 glasses of water, and it'll take me a bit of time. I can drink 6, maybe 10 of those bottles of Arizona tea you have there in 5 minutes. It is disgusting it makes no sense how drinkable it is. You think whatever they put in that shit, because it's not actually tea, and they add water, and somehow it is thinner and easier to drink than water by itself. Makes no goddamn sense.
I think
wild.
For once, I 100,000% agree with you. This is like, I will die on this hill.
Yeah, I don't care who you are. If you tell me, oh man, you're full of shit. He's like, oh, this quenches I can drink this so easy. But have you had Arizona sweet tea? Every goddamn time.
Yeah.
And if they have and they're saying that's whatever they're drinking still easier, they're a fucking liar.
If I were dying in a desert and I was rescued and someone came up to me and I could choose between water and Arizona, I'd go Arizona sweet tea.
See, that's where I disagree with you. I'd pick water because the Arizona sweet tea would be gone in 2 seconds. And then I'm fucked.
Yeah, but then you can drink the water.
But you just said that, but if you pick one, what's the point of picking if you're just going to get both?
Well, I guess you're right. I would want the sweet tea. I'm sorry.
I mean, I can't blame you. I understand your reasoning, but
good stuff.
Steven,
we are not sponsored by Arizona sweet tea.
We are far from it, if anything. Very far from it. I don't think they know we exist. If there's one person that works for Arizona sweet tea, there's one little peon that works there, and he is a fan of the show, or she, or they, whatever, is a fan of the show, please let us know in the comments because I'm curious if we can strike a deal. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and they have to share the first 3 minutes of this show with their boss.
Yeah, we're trying to grow here, all right? We're doing businessmen at the end of the day. You know what I mean? Yeah. All right, Steven. We had our first proper state of play this past, was it Tuesday? Wednesday? Tuesday. It was Tuesday.
Yeah, I think Tuesday, yeah.
We'll just roll with it. Lots of news. This one was very much focused on the Japanese development side, which is nice considering that we have not seen PlayStation really dive deep into the PlayStation, not PlayStation, the Japanese market as of late, nor is anytime they hype anything up, it is very rare where it's Japanese focused. What did you think before we dive into what was, talked about at this week's past state of play? What did you think about it? How'd you feel?
So overall, this might be, I guess, a little weird, but so I'm usually not super thrilled by most Japanese developed games lately.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of the stuff that was mentioned in this particular state of play, I'm not personally too excited for, but overall, I think it was a diverse and quality showcase. There were a lot of different things, and there was a little bit of something for most people. Which is nice.
Yeah.
There was a good diverse showing, and we're gonna go into them individually. But one thing that I appreciated was it was a good mix of like bigger games from like bigger, more established developers and publishers, as well as smaller games. Like one of the games was the debut for an independent studio based out of Malaysia. So like it just a nice, obviously published by a Japanese publisher, but a nice, good, diverse range of content here. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I agree with you. It was very much a wide breadth of content there across different genres, from action RPGs to more of the single player cinematic experience to even fighting games, online multiplayer, games of service type deals. Um, nothing, nothing bombastic, right? I don't think we saw anything that just like whoa.
Yeah.
You
Well, I
know,
mean, for some people though, some
for
people were
some
going
maybe,
whoa.
yeah, some people were going crazy because there were some things that made some returns that we had not seen in quite a long time. But even I feel like if that were in, I should say, if that were in, if some of those games were shown in like an E3 showcase, compared to everything else announced around that time, it'd be like it'd fall a little bit more to the wayside, which is good. Um, but without further ado, Stephen, let's just dive on into it. If you want to kick us off with the first announcement we got.
All right. So this one was pretty cool, I think. They
Mhm.
threw us for a loop because we immediately saw red-haired protagonist and dinosaurs, and everyone was like, "Oh shit, Dino Crisis!" But no. Uh, instead, Exoprimal was announced. It's
Mhm.
set to launch in 2023, but this is a co-op, um, I guess, shooter, like a third-person action game where you fight hordes of dinosaurs, like literally thousands of dinosaurs falling out of a portal, uh, as giant robots. So that's pretty freaking cool. Uh, it was based on the trailer. It was kind of giving me Lost Planet vibes in a
Mhm.
way, and Earth Defense Force.
Yeah.
So I thought it looked pretty cool. And this was a debut, so this was our first time hearing about this game. Uh, but yeah, what did you think about Exoprimal?
I loved it. It looks like it's a lot of fun, a lot of mindless, simple fun you can get into. But I could also easily see it with it being a Capcom game, that it will have a lot for people into the more advanced field style of play. There's gonna be a lot of technicalities there to really cater to a big audience, not alienate anyone. But I think the look and the art feel will make it opening and welcoming to a lot of people. It is really cool to see a new IP come from Capcom with how much they have under their utility belt. They could easily dip into one of their old reserves in the vault, but to see them come up with something new and fresh, uh, always nice to see. I think it will be handled extremely well with the success we've seen from them with their services of games of like Street Fighter and especially Monster Hunter as of late. They'll be able to handle whatever comes their way with this, and really any kind of when it comes to the service aspect, they're going to take everything in stride. They'll make it it'll be a very polished, very fun, very fluid game. If there's any issues, they'll knock it out of the park. I agree with you on the feel. I definitely got some Earth Defense Force vibes, as well as Dino Crisis, like everyone else. At
Yeah,
first, honestly, I thought it was going to be this very vibrant Turok game. That was the first time I
yeah,
clicked on it. I'm like,
actually, that'd be
I thought that
cool.
for a hot minute. I'm like, is this Turok? And I'm like, that's a really weird way to introduce a Turok game. But like new generation, shit gets crazy, gets wild.
Yeah,
So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I was gonna say Dino Crisis, but the Exo Primal. That
I feel like
name.
they're gonna have some kind of Dino Crisis nod. Like towards the end of the trailer,
Oh, come on.
like the camera was just showing like the chest of a character, and it
Hmm.
seemed like it was gonna be a reveal, and then it just cut. We've got a year before this game comes out, so I don't know. There's opportunity for some like weird crossover stuff.
Yeah,
Uh,
Capcom's not. They're by no means they're afraid to dip into the crossover realm. I mean, we've got the fucking Palamutes and Monster Hunter Rise dressing up like Sonic the Hedgehog,
didn't
or
they have
rather,
Mega Man in
yeah, and Mega
like
Man
weapons in
also.
Monster Hunter?
That is very much a thing. So, what is it? Amaterasu from Okami. All sorts of crossovers bound to happen. So,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if we saw some Dino Crisis on the way.
Yep, but I thought it looked cool. It looked like fun. One of those
Mhm.
like mindless fun kind of games, which
Yes.
I love to get into every now and then.
Real time killer. All right. Well, next up, and this one was a bit frustrating. A new Ghostwire Tokyo trailer. Remind you that this game comes out on March 25th. So, reason I say this is frustrating. This is damn near what they did with Deathloop,
Oh yeah,
where
just
it was
beat it
just
to
like
death.
forced fed down every other fucking avenue. We just had a showcase on this game not even a month ago. So why we're getting a new trailer just 2 weeks before launch, I don't understand. I don't know what else you can really reveal about this game outside of the full fucking story. I'm excited for it. I am happy. I am ready to play it. But holy shit, stop showing me everything. Like I'm done. I'm done. Just put the game on the shelf at this point. If we're just gonna keep getting trailers every day until it comes out, unnecessary. And then another like 20-minute, separate from the state of play, another like 20-minute gameplay thing was released on top of it. I'm like, the game is
Yeah.
out in 2 weeks. Jesus, let it come out.
No, I mean, to be fair, the game does look pretty good.
It does.
I'm more excited for it now than I was when it was first announced, and like with each new thing that we see, I get a little bit more excited. But yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat where it's like, all right, I get it. Just stop.
Yeah, like leave it be. It's granted, Deathloop ended up, if it's going to follow a similar suit, sold very well, critically acclaimed, it was Game of the Year contender, and a lot of people expected it to win just because I don't think anyone put out a bad review of that game. Still, I mean, I don't. Even Call of Duty doesn't put out that much fucking coverage that close to launch. They just let the same
Yeah.
troll. Like Jesus. So, any hooser. Yeah, moving right along. Not much new to talk about there. It's a new story trailer. There's also a gameplay. I don't even know what to call it. It's not a trailer, but it's 20 minutes long. But but
Another showcase.
Yes, it's the same length as the showcase. I don't fucking get it. Why wasn't this what was shown a month ago? I don't get it.
Yeah, it is a lot. It is a lot.
This is gonna get me on a rant about how again the state of play showcase shit makes no sense. So I'm just gonna stop talking about it because it's frustrating.
Nope. Moving on.
Moving on.
Another thing that they showed, Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin demo is available right now. So actually, after the state of play, it was made available. And this demo is kind of interesting. It allows you to play the first 3 stages of the game, and your progress will carry over into the full game when it launches. So that's pretty cool. For those of you who remember, the reveal for this is the really cringy game where the guy kept saying chaos over and over. It's that one. So it's kind of like, it's like, I don't know. This is such a trite thing to say, but it's like Dark Souls with like a smidge of like Platinum Games, but with like a Final Fantasy skin.
Ninja Gaiden, Steven. This game is coming from Team Ninja.
I'm getting a weird Souls vibe, but I feel like a
You ever
lot of
played Ninja
third-person
Gaiden?
action games. Yeah, Ninja Gaiden was basically Souls games before Souls games.
The game was hard as fuck.
Yeah.
Granted, I think this game will be more accessible, and there's also a bit of an online multiplayer service aspect to it as well.
Mhm.
I'm excited to play this, honestly. I love Final Fantasy. I love when Final Fantasy kind of strives away from the turn-based RPG aspect, and I think this is their first full dive into straight up action, at least the first
Mhm.
time in a while that I can remember. So I'm stoked. I actually am really looking forward to this. Now, I could also easily see it being a flop.
Yeah.
um,
I kind of want it to be a cringy mess because I feel like that'll make it better. You know,
no.
like in the same like a lot of my favorite games are just kind of cringy, and I don't know, I feel like if it's not really bad, there's no way this game is going to be really good. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's got to get that sweet spot where it's got to be campy and kind of ridiculous. Which that's the vibe that I got from the trailer, at least.
Yeah, it's definitely has some campiness behind it, for sure.
He puts in his headphones and starts listening to one of those like arena rock songs.
I don't know what they're trying to do with this game. I feel like every time we see it, like it's just I don't want to say it looks totally different, but there's a new feel, I feel like, every time we see it. This is also
Yeah.
the second demo. There was a timed demo that released last year, I believe, not long after the game was, not when it was first revealed, but its second follow-up, I believe. So this is
Yeah.
the first demo. You're really allowing you to, if you missed out on that first one, like I did, check it out, see what you think. Game comes
And
out
that
March 18th. So
that original demo didn't have any like progress carrying over. So this one is like
nope.
an actual it's kind of like a trial for the game, really. So you
Mm-hmm.
can play it
Mm-hmm.
before you buy it. So just some like further information about this game that I thought was interesting. I was reading up some more on it, and it has like a class system or a job system, basically, where you
Mm-hmm.
can give your character different like skills and stuff based on what job you assign them. And there's like 23 of these jobs, I think. It's like it's a pretty large number, I feel. Um, so that's kind of cool, and they all have like their own things you can equip to at the same time and like switch organically between them. So for people who are into that sort of thing, it seems like it'll be kind of cool. So yeah, Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin demo. Download it now.
Next up, Steven, and I really want to dive into this because this is interesting. We got
Yeah.
a new trailer and a new release date for Forspoken. Now, granted, we got the new release date a day before, I believe, if not 2 days before the state of play dropped, with the game now releasing October 11th. Steven, we talked about this last week. I can't remember if it was on the show or if it was a little sidebar where we talked about how they had PlayStation had a lot of exclusives coming, and a lot of them
Yeah.
really early out the gate, and not a whole lot slated for later in the year. I think it's a good move. I like this move. Obviously, granted, just to get it cleaned up, get the polish it needs, this, that.
Bless you.
Thank you. Get it on the rise, get quality product out there. I think it's also a good move because it'll let the game breathe. Right, this game was launching eerily close to Summer of Games with E3, a bunch of other stuff probably dropping, and it'll get overshadowed not with releases, but with just news. So no one's gonna be talking about it because everyone's talking about what's coming up next. So by allowing this to come out in October, that kind of settles down. Not a whole lot going on. People are gearing up for the holidays, but it's early out the gate holidays. So it's not competing with games like Call of Duty or I don't think there's gonna be a new Battlefield anytime soon. I imagine not God of War because that would shoot PlayStation in the foot.
Yeah,
So
that's a thing that I wanted to touch on. So this means I feel like it's safe to assume that God of War is now not coming out in October because we don't
yeah,
have an exact month for God of War yet. We don't
my
even
money's
know
on
if it's
November
this
with
year.
that one. I think we know if it's this year. I feel like that's what's talked about. I can't remember exactly when, but I'm pretty confident in the 2022 release date.
Or yeah, sorry, I'm thinking last year we didn't know what year it was coming out.
Yeah, it's
I'm-
definitely 2022. My money's on November.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too, and that gives this game a month to breathe, basically. So I think that'll be good, and especially since even though they're kind of different vibes, since they're both fantasy action games, I feel like it'll be good to separate them a little bit.
Yeah, it'll still be catered to by a similar audience, if not the same exact audience. So
How do you feel about Forspoken?
I'm excited. So a lot of this team worked on Final Fantasy 15, which I loved. Luminous Productions, I believe, is the name of the developer working on it. The game looks gorgeous. Everything we've seen so far of it has been fun. It looks fast. It looks fluid. It's my cup of tea, right? A single player, third person, cinematic, story driven type game with some RPG elements. So, I'm stoked. I'm really excited. I'm also very excited it's being pushed off because it'll allow me to actually get time to play it. So I'm looking very, very, very forward to Forspoken.
Yeah, I'm cautiously curious about this one. I sort of have the opposite reaction to this as I did with Ghostwire Tokyo when this was first announced. I was very excited for it because I saw all the things, like fantasy action, role playing, and very story driven with a diverse cast. Like it was ticking a lot of boxes for me. But, like, for some reason, the more that I see of this game, the less excited I am.
I
And,
think
like, it just seems like the more that they show, the more barren it looks, and the more cringy I feel like the dialogue is, but not in the good way. Like, I love a cringy, awkward game, but this one, it seems like it's not bad enough. Like,
make
and
it worse. Make it
yeah,
worse.
I
Then
mean,
bring
like,
it to me.
as far as the dialogue goes. Now the action, though, the action does seem pretty cool, and it reminds me a lot of, when we were seeing, like, the first gameplay for, like, Final Fantasy 15, uh,
Mhm.
like, it reminds me of that. It's kind of like, this is what I imagined Final Fantasy 15 action would be, where the actual Final Fantasy 15 game, it's a little bit slower than, um, I, like, kinda wanted it to be. Like, the Final Fantasy 7 remake kinda sped things up and made them a little bit more actiony, I think, and Forspoken, I feel like, is just taking a similar kind of combat style and, kinda, like, stretching it even further. It's almost like if Final Fantasy 15 were an Infamous game, is the vibe that I get.
Okay.
Uh, as far as, like, the magical powers and stuff, it reminds me a lot of Second Son, actually. All the, like, flying through the air and shooting shit.
Yeah.
Um,
Do you
but
think oh, go ahead.
well, I was just gonna say, but, like, so the gameplay and the action looks really cool, but I'm not yet sold on the story, and that's a big thing for me, and I'm
Mhm.
not yet sold on the world because every time I see the world, it just looks big and empty, and I don't like big and empty worlds.
I wonder if that's because I feel like every time we see something on this game, it's the same thing. So whereas with Deathloop and now Ghostwire, yes, it's force fed down our throats, but we always see something new. Whether it's a new
Mhm,
reveal, it's story or gameplay or a new environment of some case, right? Or a new mechanic involved. With Forspoken, I feel like we've seen the same thing with every trailer, except maybe not this past one, but the one before it, where it really dived into the story.
mhm,
That was the only thing we saw relatively new. Outside of that, you're right. We see the same areas. We see the same traversal scene. We see the same. Hear the same lines, and then maybe one new quick 2 seconds of a cinematic of a gigantic boss-looking thing. But even then, you're focused on the boss. You don't get to see everything else. So I just find that I wonder if that's what's doing. 'Cause I understand. I am excited for the game, but my excitement has not gone down or gone up due to these trailers. Whereas with Ghostwire, I am, since seeing gameplay, more intrigued
mhm.
because now, granted, I don't need to see more of it. Like I said before, I am still more and more invested each time. So,
Yeah, I feel like Forspoken is a game that, personally, I hope it gets the showcase treatment, closer to
mhm.
launch, where they do, like, a 20-minute deep dive, they show us the gameplay, they explain some things and, like, the inner workings of things. I feel like that'll help me get a better gauge of whether or not I'm gonna be into it, but, um, out of everything in the state of play that we watched, that hasn't come out yet, Forspoken is probably the one that I'm most interested in. So
Mm,
so yeah, I think it has a lot of promise, but we shall see.
we shall. Next up, a new Gundam game on the way. We have Gundam Evolution launching this year on both PS4 and PS5. It is a free to play Gundam first person shooter game at 6v6. There will be a network test later this spring. Details coming later. Um, Steven, have you ever played a Gundam game? Especially the most
Uh,
recent ones where it's like a bunch of online, just
yeah, so I haven't, but I keep almost getting one
yeah.
because, like, they look fun, but then I heard that they're kind of a bitch to platinum, and because they're I know, um, but also because they're so, like, multiplayer focused,
Hmm.
um, when it comes to, like, dropping money on a multiplayer focused thing, I'm kinda like, I don't know." Um, like, the only one that I've bought, like, the only game that I bought that's multiplayer focused is, like, Predator Hunting Grounds, and that's because I played, like, the trial thing or the beta, and I really enjoyed it. But hearing that this is free to play, which I wasn't aware of, um, that's kind of exciting because it'll allow me to try it out, and then if I like it, maybe it'll sink its teeth into me. So that's pretty good. But yeah, it looked fun. It looked colorful. It looked fast.
Yeah. And I mean, the Gundam has such a long storied history. You can expect to see lots of content, uh, lots of new Gundams, add-on content, just constant servicing. Um, I've never played a Gundam game myself. I I like Gundam. I'm not heavy into it. I feel like Gundam games are very much for the existing fans. So
Mhm.
it's unless I like one day decide to hop on Netflix or Crunchyroll and just deep dive into Gundam. I mean, I was a big Gundam fan as a kid, like 5 and 6, because Gundam Wing and G Gundam were all over Toonami on Cartoon Network, so I watched those, but since then, I'm like, I haven't touched it. So going into this, I'm like, "Yeah, it looks cool," but, like, I'm just not a Gundam fan, so, like, I don't care. It's fine, it's cool, it's happening, I'm glad it's free, I might try it out, but as far as it'll go.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that it's free to play dramatically increases my chances of playing it. So, or at least downloading it, letting it sit on my system until I have to delete it to make more space.
Mhm.
So there's that for what that's worth. So the next thing, this was actually pretty cool.
Oh,
So
yeah, it
the
was.
the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Cowabunga collection is launching this year on PS4 and PS5. And what this is, it's a collection of basically every 8-bit and 16-bit um, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game. So there's 13 of them in total, I think, if I remember correctly. Um, so 13 of these games in total. You can play their Western and Eastern releases. It seems pretty cool.
I am stoked. There's only one letdown for me.
What's that?
I really, really wanted, and there's no real reason it needs to be on there. This is very much a personal thing for me. I wanted Turtles in Time Reshelved Edition to be a part of this. Again, Turtles in Time is already on here, but I wanted Reshelved just because I wanted the HD remaster because I loved that so
Yeah,
much, and like it's just the refreshing visuals, you know. Other than that, I mean, this is awesome. Like I can't wait. It especially this is just historic because never did we think we'd see any of these games outside of an arcade. I mean, Turtles in Time itself, even Reshelled, delisted. You can't buy the game anymore.
yeah.
As far as I'm aware, they never put it back up.
Do you think
So
this is why?
no, it was delisted years ago, like PS3 era. We're talking.
Oh, okay, okay.
So
Yeah,
like,
that's fair.
this is very much just like holy shit. I don't think anyone saw this coming. Um, so very cool to see it happening. I'm excited. I hope we see more. I hope it leads to a reshelled edition coming back out. But I mean, with all the recent news and media swirling around Ninja Turtles with new movies, TV shows, and spin-offs, I'm pumped. So let's do it.
Yeah,
Cowabunga, dude.
there's been a lot of turtle stuff. Like, I feel like we can't go a month without hearing some kind of new turtles related thing. So,
Turtle power, man. You can't die.
turtle power.
Go ninja, go ninja, go, bitch.
So next thing, Gigabash is coming to the PS5 and PS4 this year. This is a giant kaiju brawler. Uh,
Fuck yeah.
so this game, I think it looks pretty cool. It's like nostalgic. It reminds me a lot of those like PS2 era like arena
Rampage
brawler games. Yeah, like Rampage
or
or
Godzilla Destroy All Monsters.
yeah, yeah. It reminds me a lot of those. And this is actually earlier I mentioned a debut game. This is it. This is the first game developed by it's a Malaysian development studio. I think it's called Passion Republic Games. Let me look at the doc real fast. Um, yeah, Passion Republic Games. So this is their debut title, which I think is pretty exciting. It looks pretty awesome, especially for a debut. Like I think the
Mhm.
animations were gorgeous. They look the way that the characters are animated. It looks like people in suits. Like I don't know how they did it, but
Like
it
mascots more
yeah
than anything else,
it
yeah.
reminded me a lot of like Power Rangers. Like you know the villains in Power Rangers, how
Yeah,
they're like it looks
like in
like
a
that.
puppet costume, like,
Yeah,
oh.
but I thought it looked cool. It looked fun. And the coolest thing about this game, in my opinion, is not only does it feature online multiplayer, but it also features couch multiplayer. So you can beat up your friends, you can destroy a city. I think there's like mini games and stuff in there too.
Hmm.
So this is just a nostalgic trip for me.
Did you ever play the board game King of Tokyo?
I did not.
So very fun. I used to have a group of friends where we go out every Thursday. We play board games, and King of Tokyo was always a fan favorite. And when I first saw this, I thought it was King of Tokyo, the video game. I'm like, holy shit, yes, let's go! I am stoked. I'm like, this is perfect. Like oh my god. So I'm excited for this. I hope it does well. Um, it is going to be a great party game. So if you ever like, I mean, I struggle now where I look at games and I'm like, man, I really wish I had a game because I'll have people over and like, man, what's a fun four player game everyone can play? It's not like Mario Kart or Pix the Cat or Overcooked. Like,
sorry, nobody else mentions Pix the Cat, and I
fuck
love
you,
that.
Steven. Everyone mentions Pix the Cat. Top
I
tier.
love that I've had that effect.
Everyone plays Pix the Cat. If they don't, they're lying.
It's such a good game.
It's so fucking good. So this is something I'm like, yes, finally a new 4-player game I can play on the couch and just have everyone just get pissed and just go ape shit for. So I'm extremely excited for this. I can't wait.
Yeah, I think it looks really cool, and it's coming out this year, which is neat.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is the first time that it was announced. Like it was announced. I like that they
Yes.
gave it space in the state of play,
Mm-hmm.
especially since this is a smaller game, debut indie studio. I think it looks cool.
Putting money on it right now, Steven. This game will be free with PlayStation Plus the first month it's out.
Ooh, okay, all right,
Yeah.
okay. That's a
I
good bet. That's a good bet.
I mean it's first time developer. They're trying to get an audience. It's a serviceable game, right? Where it's gonna have constant updates and seasons, I'm sure, all whatever the fuck people are doing
Yeah,
nowadays.
especially if it gets big.
Yeah, like so this game will need to be free to get an audience at first, much like Rocket League, Fall Guys, and then after that month it'll be 20-30 bucks and just take off. So
Interesting.
that's where I'm
Interesting.
putting money on. I'm
Yeah,
calling it right now.
that would actually be really cool, and I support that.
Hmm.
Also, the fact that it's being highlighted in a state of play.
Yep.
But yeah,
Yep.
yeah, I can get behind that.
Next up, Steven. This I wanted to be excited for the fighting game they were going to talk about, and it wasn't what I thought it was. I was like, what the fuck? No one. I want to say no one was asking for this, but unfortunately,
No.
there's a lot of fucking people asking for this. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure All Star Battle R launches this fall on PS4 and PS5. The 50 playable characters, all. So what pisses me off about this thing is the entire fucking uh, roster of this game. They're all main characters of JoJo. They're not. A lot of them aren't like villains. They're fucking. They're all heroes. I don't want to play as 1,000,001 fucking protagonist. Like, what the fuck? Why does this game exist? Like, I don't understand. Dragon Ball Fighter is great because there's still like maybe not as many heroes, but there's still a good chunk of villains. Mortal Kombat, a good ratio. Street Fighter, a good ratio. This game is literally, I'm gonna play as all the fucking heroes. I'm like, what the fuck?
So this is the game that I saw the most people getting very excited about online.
Yeah,
Like
fucking JoJo fans.
JoJo's got like a big cult following. A lot of people are excited. This seems like this is a re-release, right?
Yes, this was
Not like
originally
a,
on the PS4
and
or
I'm assuming
PS3, maybe.
I think PS3.
Yeah,
But yeah, I'm assuming that the R stands for like remake or re-release or remaster.
Royale, because they're royal. Because it took them
Um,
years to add more fucking protagonists to the goddamn roster.
well, anyways, for fans of the series and fans of anime fighting games, it seems like it's going to tick a lot of boxes for people. So there's that.
Fucking
Also, real
shameful.
fast, I wanted to give a shout out. So Chris, in the chat on Facebook, hello, thank you for tuning in. On the bet, that Gigabash is coming to PlayStation Plus. He asked, "What's the wager?" It's very important.
Sorry, I'm looking at Philippe's glass in his profile picture.
I didn't realize it would use the This is my first time, I think, highlighting a Facebook profile.
That
So.
is, I am not surprised by any means that is a Philippine profile picture, and I love it. I don't know. What do you want to wait? Do you want to wait beer?
Yeah, you still owe me beer from the last wager.
Bitch, I've invited you out multiple times to go get beer, and you get to take this up.
Next time I come over, we got to get some beer. So what's the wager?
I don't.
You're doing beer?
We can do beer. We can do beer unless you want to do something else.
Chris is saying up the stakes.
Chris, I am a poor man. I can't just
Steak. A steak.
Like from a Kroger.
Just steak and we can put on the grill. We can make some steak.
What do you own a grill?
Not currently.
Steven's trying to get me to go purchase kitchen hardware on the off chance he wins his bet.
Well, there's a grill at my parents' place.
Maybe playing a game.
Oh, Chris is playing a game
hour.
you hate for him.
I could do that. It's quite a few of those.
All right, I might make you finish Horizon.
Steven, I will hopefully have finished Horizon before, and I don't hate Horizon. The gameplay in that game is absolutely fluid. I just I don't give two shits about the story so far from what I'm in.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. We'll figure it out. We've got till the end of the year, right? So this is
I mean, roughly.
This will launch this year, so
yeah.
Whenever it comes out. But yeah, so there we go. Oh, Chris is saying live stream a game that you can't stand.
I don't think I'm physically capable. I mean, all right, I'll do it. I cannot promise I will only talk good about it. If it might be a very, very quiet stream if I do, but I'll do it.
Stream JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
I'm not giving that game money.
You have to talk about how much you love the characters.
How much I love JoJo. And all 50 of them. All 50 JoJos.
All right.
Disgusting.
That'd be fun. This sounds like a fun stream. I should have the PlayStation camera by then too. If all goes
Are you having trouble finding one?
Well, so I just imagine going into a store and just buying it, and then every time that I do it, they're sold out, and they're like, "You can buy it online," and I'm like, "I just don't want to." Like, I know that it's dumb. I know it's totally dumb, but like, back in the day,
I don't want to do this thing.
Back in the day, you used to be able to walk into a store. You would ask for a thing and you would get it. You could give them money, but now you go into a store and they're like, "Oh, we can order it online. You can wait a week." No, I don't fucking want to do that. I want to go into a store and I want to buy it. I'm so tired of video game consoles. You can't go in a store and buy them. You have to go online. And video game accessories, you can't. It pisses me off.
So that blows my mind because I feel like every time I walk into a Target, I see multiple PS5 controllers, the PS5 remote, and the camera.
Yeah. I swear that I did too, until I started going in the store looking for one, and then magically they're only available online. It pisses me off.
Hold on, we're doing a test right now.
I know there's a GameStop somewhere around here that has one. There's the Best Buy in Florence doesn't have one.
So you know that they're out there.
Yeah, because the GameStop that I went into didn't have it. And first time in years, the first time in years that I've gone into a GameStop, mind you. I went in there, I broke my sacred oath. It was a blood oath to not go into a GameStop ever again. And they didn't have it available. But anyways.
Hold on, I want to see if I can find one in store.
I went to the Best Buy in Florence and I went to the GameStop in Florence.
Best Buy is out. Target.
I think you froze.
Hold on, let me check the Target.
Oh no, you were just being motionless.
Did I freeze?
Never mind.
Yeah, I'm dead on the inside. All right. Checking the GameStop. Oh, they updated their app. Weird.
It's disgusting.
I don't need all.
It's fine.
It's
I'm
actually kind
moving
of
on.
nice.
I'm moving on.
All right, you go on ahead. I'm going to see if I can find this.
All right. So people who have been watching PlayStation State of Plays, I think this was announced in a State of Play actually. Trek to Yomi got a new trailer, and this is the it's like a black and white side-scrolling action game inspired by old like samurai and kung fu movies from back in the day. But this game gets a new trailer. It doesn't have a release date yet, but I think this game looks gorgeous. Uh, it's like if Ghost of Tsushima were a side scroller, like if Ghost of Tsushima and Sifu had a baby. This game is oozing with style. It's being represented as an authentic and cinematic experience, so that's pretty cool. And in this new trailer, they showed a lot more of like there's like a supernatural tinge to it, which is kind of cool. But yeah, I think this game looks awesome.
I am very excited for this game. I can't. I believe you're right. Yes, it was. Yes, the camera is out of stock everywhere. Holy shit! Why?
See,
It doesn't do a
I
damn
don't know
thing.
why.
Um.
There were
Anyway,
thousands of them.
the amount of time it could take you that you've been looking for one in store, you could have ordered and had it by now. You're being ridiculous. But with Trek to Yomi, I'm excited for it. It's like you said, side scrollery, very Seven Samurai esque with black and white film grain look.
Mhm.
I expect the game to be difficult, timing based wise. It's not super flashy. It's very straightforward, just brutal samurai battles. Um, I can't wait. Unfortunately, I cannot say this game will be free. I imagine it'll come out for like 20 to 30 bucks, which is fine.
Yeah,
Hopefully, I earn a code of some kind in some fashion. But I'm excited for it. It looks great. I think gameplay will be solid from what it seems to be very smooth. I'm all about the theme. I love samurais. I love samurai films. I'm in.
yeah, yeah. I'm in too. I'm excited for this one. I'm liking all this samurai stuff and like this like martial arts and kung fu and like
It's long overdue.
yeah,
Long overdue.
yeah. You would think it would be a lot more common in the
You think
video
it'd be
game
over?
space,
You think
but
you'd be sick of it because of how saturated it is, but
yeah. But I mean,
crazy.
now with Ghost of Tsushima and Sifu and Trek to Yomi, I think
Mm-hmm.
it's nice. It's pretty
Mm-hmm.
cool.
All right. Next up, we've got Returnal is getting a free update called the Ascension update. Um, so interestingly enough, the game is offering a full campaign co-op mode, and then offering a the Tower of Sisyphus, Sisyphus,
Sisyphus.
Fascistus. I don't know how to read that mode, and that's more like this. The mode is interesting because Returnal is already sort of like not an endless runner, but you live, die, repeat, um, where you're kind of constantly going through it. So
Mhm.
adding this mode seems, I don't know how it's any different outside of you're going up an ascending tower.
Well, I mean, the game
uh,
has a definitive end, the campaign, and
yes,
it's story driven. You just die a lot because it's difficult. But with the tower, it's
truly endless. Like you're just kind
yeah,
of
the tower truly doesn't end. But they're kind of going into Housemarque's roots with the tower mode, um, where it's high score based. So you're high
mhm,
score chasing, you get combos, and if you take too long dealing damage, or if you take damage yourself, then your combo goes down. So if you want to keep your combo up, you really have to be fast. You have to dodge. You have to do a lot of damage. So it's definitely a very arcadey, skill based, endless shooter mode. So I think that's pretty cool. It as far as like paying tribute to Housemarque's past.
mhm,
Um, I'm very excited for the co-op mode. Um,
yes.
I feel like that makes the game a bit more accessible. Uh, I I I I I want this game. I keep almost buying it, but whenever it goes on sale, I don't have money, and then when I do have money, it's no longer on sale. But I know it's going to go on sale again, so it's in my wish list. Next time that it's like 50% off or 40% off, I'm going to get it because uh, the game looks like a lot of fun, and even though it's challenging, I'm hoping the co-op mode kind of makes it a little bit easier for me. But yeah, this is cool. And the fact that it's free, a free update with 2 new modes, and I think it's awesome. So
I want to be able to get into Returnal. When it was first announced, I was all about it. But then as we got closer to launch and I started seeing more of it, I was like, okay, this is fine, this is fine. Then after launch, everything that happened and how there was just so everything we expected to be, things weren't either there, or it's like, oh Jesus, like this is ridiculous. Like the lack of save points. I'm like, I get the endless, like it's challenging and constantly dying and repeating, but like the lack of really a pause or anything, it just really turned me away. So whenever a game comes out like that, as much as I wanted it, I'm like, eh. So whenever I see or hear so many problems, or even like, what game was it? Days Gone. I wanted to like that game and be excited for that game so bad until I actually got my hands on it. And then just the feel, like just the UI alone annoyed the shit out of me. So it's very hard for me to motivate myself to go back and play in that game. I'm like, so, and Returnal's in that same vein, but I haven't played it yet. So the co-op mode I'm excited for. I think it's really cool. Again, I agree with you that going back to Housemarque's roots, especially akin to Super Stardust HD on the PS3 with the co-op mode on that, lots of fun. So maybe this is enough. I am holding on to this game becoming a free PlayStation Plus game at some point in the next year. Like
I
this
love
is a
how with like
total.
every other game from the State of Play, you're like free on PlayStation Plus, please.
I mean, so I'm only banging on Gigabash being one, but this game I've been thinking Returnal since launch. Like eventually will become a free game. Like I can't see it not be at some point. It'll be January of next year because there's always a big thing in January. There's always that one game like, oh shit, they put it free. It's only been out. Like Returnal's going to be one of them. I'm thinking.
Okay, is this another bet?
No,
You putting another stake on the line?
I have no more I can put on the line in this. This is just a prediction. We're gonna leave it at that.
All right. Okay. So this was actually the announcement I was most excited for, personally.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't expecting it at all, like at all. And
Yeah.
I was already looking forward to eventually playing Returnal, and now I'm looking even more forward to it. So yeah, I think this is really awesome, and I'm glad that they're doing this. And I love that Housemarque is supporting the hell out of this game. Like all of the requested features, even though it fundamentally went against their original design decision, because they thought about having like a more robust like checkpoint and save system, but they didn't want it in the game because they wanted it to be a hardcore, challenging experience. The fact that they listened to fans and put it in there, pretty cool. And now they're adding even more content, more modes. I think Housemarque is awesome. Like I may not love all of their games, but Housemarque is great. So cool stuff.
Agreed.
Cool stuff.
Following that, we've got a new game. Sidebar. A lot of this State of Play came from Square Enix.
Yeah.
Like, holy shit.
I have some thoughts on that, but I'm gonna wait until after we're done going through the State of Play, and then we can talk about that. But
all right. Dio Field, the Dio Field Chronicle, announced for both PS5 and PS4, is a real-time. I don't know if I'll. Yeah, real-time strategy RPG and a diorama style. So you've got a top-down tile view, but with full character models and full-scale environments, similar to that of, you could say, not the 3D pixel art environment you see with games like Octopath or Triangle Strategy. More expanded upon, much like Fire Emblem, but less anime-esque cell shading.
Yeah.
So really cool, because typically in the past we've only seen games like this in recent years only hit platforms like the Vita, the Nintendo 3DS, or the Nintendo Switch. So seeing this hit an at-home console space, much like the PlayStation 5, is awesome and cool, and really caters to the audience that PlayStation probably lost in the last few years by not having anything like this on the console space. So
yeah, there's a significant lack of like old school tactical RPGs, at least coming from larger companies. There's a lot of indie ones. Like I'm a big fan of like Rainbow Moon and Rainbow Skies, but as far as like I don't want to say a higher budget, but like but yeah, a higher budget like offering. There's not as many, especially on PlayStation. So it's nice to see this. I was reading through the PlayStation blog post, and it said real time tactical RPG, but like the trailer made it seem turn based. But
Yeah.
I took that right out of the blog post on the PlayStation blog. So they said real time. I'm curious to see more on the combat system and kind of see how that plays out. It reminded me a lot of like what was it, like Jeanne d'Arc or the Joan of Arc game on the PSP? Do you remember
Yeah,
that from
John
level
D'Arc.
5?
Mhm.
That was great. And this kind of was giving me similar-ish vibes, especially with the way that the arenas were set up, or something like Popolocroy, if you remember that.
No,
Um,
I remember the name. I blocked every image of my mind out of Popa LaCroix.
well, that was really good. It was a good one. I think that originally came out on the PlayStation 1, if I'm not mistaken. It
Fucking
might
Popa
it might have
LaCroix.
been like an older Nintendo game, but it was later re-released or remastered or whatever for PSP. But that was a cool little game. Also, real fast, CC says hi. She says, "Love your faces." We love you too,
Love her face
CC.
too.
Thank you for tuning in.
Thanks for joining. All right. Last but
Yeah, I
not
think
least,
I think Dio Field looks cool.
yeah. I'm. Will I be the one playing it in my household? Probably not. My fiance will probably, if I do buy it for myself, she'll find a way to say, "No, I'm playing this game, and I have no way to fight her because literally every real time strategy game in this house she has played." So
That seems like a Rachel game.
very much a Rachel game. Watching it, I watched the state of play on my phone in bed, and I was like, "Huh." And I just looked over, I'm like, "This is a game you'd be interested in." And she's like, "I'm going to bed." I'm like, "All right, fair enough, understood." Um, but last but not least, again, a Square Enix game. Valkyrie Elysium announced for the PS4, and PlayStation 5, releasing this year. So for fans of the old Valkyrie series, it's back. It's been gone for a while now. I don't think anyone
Yeah.
expected this. It is an action RPG, standalone adventure, so you don't have to have played any previous games. Hi, Greg. But
Hi, Greg. Love you
don't
too,
watch.
Greg.
Just ignore every piece of what I said about JoJo.
Oh no! Oh no! He's crying right now.
But anyway, really excited for this. This is a total sleeper hit. Was not expecting this. It'll be cool. It's not, looking at it so far. Honestly, it reminds me a lot of Nier. Just with the kind of not, I don't want to say drab, but like
Yeah, it does look a little like
grayscale.
washed out.
Yeah, like
Yeah, the art
the
style is
female lead,
very like
bleak,
it's
but
like depression with a
vibrant.
hint of happiness, but it's like you gotta dig.
Yeah, it's interesting. So I mean, I'm excited to an extent. It's cool to see it back. I like action RPGs. I think this, again, a game catering to the fans. I don't know how welcoming it will be for newcomers, um, but it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see how well the game does and what kind of audience it picks up, whether it's old, new, or a mixture of both.
Yeah, this one was, I think, the biggest surprise
Hmm.
out of everything in the state of play. This was the one where, like, at the end of the state of play, they were like, "Hey, we have one more thing to show you," and they showed Dio Field, and then there was like the wait, one last thing, and that was Valkyrie Elysium. So this truly was a surprise. It kind of came out of nowhere. Um, there's Greg. There's Greg. He says, "Love you both."
The
Love
man,
you
the myth,
too,
the
Greg.
legend himself,
The man, the legend, the Greg.
the Greg. Yo, Greg.
But yeah, so this kind of came out of nowhere, and the Valkyrie games like Valkyrie Profile and things like that,
Mhm.
they have like a pretty passionate cult following online,
Yes.
which is pretty cool. Now, as far as this game, I'm excited that Valkyrie's coming back. Uh, this gameplay did not do it for me. I like
It
I
looked generic. There
it
was nothing
looked
impressive about it.
it looked like maybe I'm gonna come under fire for this, but I think it looked bad. Like it looked budget and boring and kind of, I don't know.
I I,
I
I
really
mean,
wasn't feeling it.
yeah, like I said, I wasn't impressed by it. It's fine. It's coming. It's again very much a game catered to the fans. I think the only people who are really even hyped about this are the fans. I don't
Yeah.
think people are. I don't think action RPG fans are like, "Oh man, new Valkyrie game." Especially when I feel like the past Valkyrie games are turn based. I don't think they were action RPGs. Correct me if I'm wrong in the chat for those who have played the games. So I was surprised to see this as an action RPG. I I don't know. I feel like Square is very much going into. I feel like they're oversaturating.
Yeah.
There is.
They remind me a lot of Platinum games, honestly. Uh, like, do you remember that era where Platinum was like getting involved in literally everything, and only like two of the things that they did were actually good, and the rest of it was like, oh no.
Yes.
But for
Yeah.
some reason, because the name had so much like cachet, people were like, "Oh, Platinum Games," even though most of the stuff they released was bad. I feel like Square Enix is kind of in the same boat, where because of all of the big higher profile IP that they have, people are like, "Oh, it's Square Enix. They do all the cool things." But I don't know. I think yeah, I agree. I think they're spreading themselves a little too thin. Um, and when you said that the Valkyrie Elysium game reminded you of Nier, I actually kind of agree in the sense that so I love the Nier games, love them to death. I think the games are amazing. When Nier Automata was first shown, they just had like that weird drab environment, and they just showed like a glimpse of the combat, and it looked kind of boring and lame.
Yep.
Like when it was first shown, and I kind of got similar vibes from this Valkyrie Elysium reveal that they did. Uh, Now with Nier Automata, we didn't have a release date when they first showed it. The fact that Valkyrie is coming out this year suggests to me that it's further along in development. So, like, I don't know how much more fleshed out the game can get before it releases. Now, granted, we don't know when it's coming out. It could be very late this year, it could be a fall game, but still, I mean, games take time. Um, so I don't know. We'll see. I think it is such a beloved franchise though that I think that they have to do it right if they want it to succeed. So yeah, we'll see. But
Yep.
yeah, so that was the big surprise at the end of the state of play. Um, Overall, I know you asked me at the top of the show how I felt, but overall, how did you feel about the state of play?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, it was. I feel like there was a lot of when I heard that the show was going to cover the Japanese scene of gaming, and their partnerships there. I was ecstatic. I thought we were going to see maybe a little bit more of Street Fighter 6. I expected to see hopefully something on Final Fantasy 16. Um, there was a lot of expectations I had that just kind of fell flat. This is the 35th anniversary of Final Fantasy, and the most we're seeing so far is Stranger of Paradise. So I was like,
mhm.
that's kind of a letdown, especially with how much of this stuff came from Square. I was very confused as to the things we saw from Square in this space. I was like,
Yeah,
really? And
and
like,
a lot of them were announcements, like new games,
yeah,
which is pretty interesting.
yeah. I was all excited for the new stuff, but it's just not the new stuff I thought I'd hear. Again,
Yeah,
Square, much like Capcom, has a lot of things under their belt they could go into that haven't hit the next gen console space that we haven't seen in a long time. So the games that we're getting, and like, I mean, with Valkyrie Elysium, for example, and the quality they look right now, very surprising. I
yeah,
was, I mean, like I said, there's just a lot they could have touched that Square's got their name on. Again, Final Fantasy being the biggest thing. Granted, I know we're only just 3 months away from E3. We've got Tokyo Game Show right after that, so there's a lot of time, right? But
I
even
think
then,
Tokyo Game Show is when we're gonna see a lot of updates
and even
from
then,
them.
so that's even watching this show. I felt like quite a good chunk of this felt like, man, like this would make more sense to be shown off at Tokyo Game Show.
Yeah,
Like it's gonna get more of a pop. It's catering to that audience. for the most part, even if it wasn't necessarily a part of Tokyo Game Show, but a state of play that happened either right before, during, or after Tokyo Game Show in that same space, much like how Nintendo does their E3 directs, but it's not at E3, or how Xbox does their showcases, or how everyone's really handling E3 nowadays. That would make more sense. So seeing the things we did, it was fine. I don't think anything was necessarily. I don't think anything was bad. The show made sense. It was my idea of what I think a state of play should be by announcing like, "Hey, here's what we're doing at PlayStation," and they showed that off.
And they didn't dwell on anything too long, which I like.
Yeah,
like even the things that we already knew about, like Ghostwire Tokyo, Forspoken, it was just like, all right, this still exists. Here's a 30-second thing. Boom, on to the next.
Let's move on.
Yeah, and I love that. I like the breakneck pace. I was also kind of like, I had a little bit of a lukewarm reaction to it as well. But like, I know that these games just aren't catered to me. I'm not like really big on like a lot of like Japanese or anime based games. I just don't really get into as much, and that's fine. Some of this stuff I'm still looking forward to. I still think it looks great, but I know that it's just not specifically my cup of tea.
We didn't see a single thing from Bandai Namco. That's interesting.
Yeah,
one of the biggest Japanese publishers out there, and they weren't a part of this at all.
Yeah, and they do a lot of the anime games.
They do a ton of anime games.
That's like all that they do is the anime game.
And we didn't see a thing.
That is a good point. And actually, that brings me
hold on, is JoJo might be the only one, but even then, that is such a small part of their library.
And like half of the state of play was Square Enix.
Yeah,
which is interesting. So like in a past episode, we were talking about potential other studios that maybe PlayStation would acquire, and Bandai Namco was one of them that we mentioned, and Square Enix was another one that we mentioned. Square Enix was a huge part of this state of play with a lot of PlayStation exclusive titles. Does that change how you feel about a potential either partnership or acquisition from PlayStation for Square Enix?
No, I don't think it'll happen still. I still think they're too big because they do get they're too. Yes, we get exclusives on PlayStation, but we see just as many exclusives hit the Nintendo Switch. We see just as many exclusives. No, I shouldn't say just as many, but we still see exclusive hit Xbox. I mean, Octopath Traveler, for instance, that game made its way not only to the Switch at first, but then made its way to Xbox, eventually on Xbox Game Pass, and then on PC before then. So Square is very much like they put their stuff where it makes sense, where they think they're catering to the right audience of players. Like I said, like we mentioned before, with the Dio Field Chronicle. That game is a style of game we haven't seen on PlayStation in quite some time. We very much see it a lot more on the Switch, and that's a perfect example. It is a Square Enix game. It's a top-down strategy RPG. Boom. And seeing that, I was surprised. I'm like, man, I'm glad they're showing this. Is this going to be on Switch? Because it just makes sense, because everything else has been, at least in that field. So, yeah, I don't think we'll ever see Square get acquired. They are too big, and they deal with too many people.
See,
I don't know.
If
it happened, it would be groundbreaking if it did. But I
feel like I would have agreed with the whole like they're too big, they deal with too many people statement in a world before this year, basically, because of a lot of the things that we've been seeing, and because of the more aggressive acquisitions that we've been seeing.
All those people have been Western, though.
Yeah, they have been Western.
Big difference.
However, a lot of like the big acquisitions have also been Microsoft, which is a Western company.
True.
But PlayStation has, I mean, they're based in Japan. Sony's based in Japan, and they have closer ties and relationships with these Japanese developers, like historically, especially Square. And if we look at, yes, they have a lot of games coming out on, it's mostly Nintendo and PlayStation. And then after the fact they come out on Microsoft consoles. But with Square Enix, a lot of their exclusives that come to PlayStation just seem like they're such a higher caliber. Like most of the budget, I feel like, goes towards games like Final Fantasy VII Remake. That's huge. We still don't see that on another console, and I think that's like a weird thing because that's such a big game.
In a sense, I think we don't see it on another console for multiple reasons. One, the Switch can't handle it.
Yeah, but
power's just not
that
there.
hasn't stopped them. Like they put Kingdom Hearts on there
As a cloud service, though.
as a cloud thing. Yeah, but like Nintendo doesn't care. People are gonna buy it. Why wouldn't you release a thing with the cloud thing? Like, I don't want it on the Switch if it can't run on the Switch, but I'm just saying, like, they don't care. So it's weird that we don't see it there. And it's also weird that we don't see it on an Xbox system. And I know that there's either like a timed exclusivity deal, which usually those only last a year. It's been a lot more than a year.
It's been 2 years, and we still don't have Final Fantasy VII Remake on Xbox. We have it on PC, not on Xbox.
Not even an announcement of it maybe coming in the future, or that they're working on it. Like nothing. It's been complete radio silence. And then we have Forspoken, which is another. That's a big budget, high profile PlayStation exclusive. Like that's a big thing. Like on the same scale of like Final Fantasy 15. So it's very interesting and kind of weird to me that these larger budget exclusives are just coming to PlayStation. Like I think that's a real testament to the relationship that PlayStation has with Square Enix. And like I also don't think an acquisition is going to happen. I don't want an acquisition to happen, but it's a really bizarre scenario where like we see these very large budget exclusives coming to PlayStation, exclusively to PlayStation. We also see a lot of these smaller budget, like the Valkyrie Elysium game. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but is Valkyrie a PlayStation IP? I think has that only been on
because Valkyrie Profile was also on the DS.
Oh, it was.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing is so like Square's good about catering and knowing where their games are going to sell. That's another big thing, like not to beat a dead horse, like these games, like strategy games, they end up on the Switch because they sell more on the Switch. It's just natural. I mean, games
you
like
don't think Final Fantasy VII would sell on the Xbox? It would totally sell on the Xbox,
but not nearly as much as it has on PlayStation. It's why double down. Like, I mean, I'm not saying it wouldn't sell, but the game's doing just fine. PlayStation bought rights early out the gate, and then to have to like, okay, now we got to repump out this game. The audience that cares about Final Fantasy VII or Final Fantasy in general, those people aren't buying Xboxes. Those people are on Nintendo, which, again, every Final Fantasy remaster that we've had off of the retro versions, including 7, 8, I believe 9, all on the Switch, they make their way to PlayStation. So
yeah, but
I don't know.
Even if like for Final Fantasy VII Remake, even if it sold half as much as it sold on PlayStation, it would still make a shit ton of money. Like it would be in their best interest to port it over.
I still think it's coming. I think it's gonna be a while, but I think it's coming. I wouldn't be surprised if it happened this year. It's 35th anniversary, and I mean, Kingdom Hearts made its way over there. So,
yeah, it's just I think it's just so bizarre that it hasn't happened yet, and stuff like Forspoken exists, stuff like Valkyrie Elysium, which the Switch could totally handle.
True,
but
maybe
that's true. The Switch is kind of
I won't go too far on that.
A weird beast, but I don't know. Just some things to think about. But yeah, like I said, I don't think an acquisition is happening. I don't want it to happen. But yeah, there's a lot of Square Enix love, and the fact that 50% of a state play was dedicated to Square Enix. That's I don't know. I think that's a big deal.
And 1% to JoJo, which is Bandai Namco. But like, what the fuck? I don't know. There a lot of missed opportunities with the state of play. Glad to see a return to form for state of play. I think we have a bigger one on the horizon. Personally, I think this is just the stir the pot. I think come May or June, as we get into the summer, we'll get a big one. But other than that, ladies and gentlemen, this has been Dual Senses, a PlayStation podcast. You can find us on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook each and every Friday around 9:30 Eastern Time. You can always catch the show later on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and the video up version of YouTube up not long afterwards. If you're a fan of the show, be sure to like, rate, comment, subscribe, do all the things. If you want to help the show grow, make your way over to www.mtfproductions.com/donate, where you can donate as little as $1. But until then, we'll see you next week.
Yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. We had a lot of people on Facebook this time. So shout out to all our Facebook people. Thank you, Chris, CC, and Greg for writing in. Also, for anyone watching on Twitch, I'm going to stream Horizon in a little bit. Horizon Forbidden West. So if anyone wants to tune into that, it's twitch.tv/morethanfriends. So I'm probably.
Can they stay on this link?
If you're on Twitch, yeah, but it's not gonna go to Facebook and YouTube because I can't do that on the PS5. Not yet, at least. Yeah. But yeah. Thank you for tuning in and everything.
Steven, end the show.
I'm working on it. I'm clicking.
Say bye. Just leave.
All right. Okay. All right. See ya. Love.
Get in it, Steven.